If you were born 40 years ago, you wouldn't know, but there's been a conflict that is outstanding, or there is a conflict that is bothering on something that happened exactly the year you were born. And it has to do with the trouble in Bawku over an issue, the burial of a chief, or the funeral rather, of a chief who passed on some 40 years ago. Now, in 2022, this is the reason people living in that community cannot ride motorbikes, which is an effective means of movement in that area. They cannot even wear smocks if they are living there, which is again a piece of clothing or a type of clothing that is very popular in that community. On Face to Face today, we'll unravel the Bawku issue through the representative of the people in Parliament and also talk a little bit of the Black Stars. My name is Umaru Sandamadu Thongware. My guest has many parts. He's a member of Parliament, he's a lawyer, he is also a former Minister of State. He served two portfolios, information and sports. There was also environment at the point. You were deputy. Honorable Mahama Ayariga, you're welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm okay.
How is Bawku?
Sad. It's unfortunate.
I see you're wearing a smoke because you're in Accra. If you like, go and wear it in Bawku and see it's been banned. But this is like the culture, right? The smoke is a culture for the people.
Yeah, I mean, that's a traditional way to dress, even though a lot of us now are either Muslim or Christian and, cosmopolitan, so we will dress anyway, but this is the traditional way to dress.
Okay. I'll come, let's talk about Bawku, the strategic location of Bawku being a business hub, the troubles and how that's affecting communal life, the tragedies that we heard about the death of people. But you were once a minister for sports. When you saw the Black Stars go to the AFCON, did you have any hope, or you knew we were going to come back prematurely?
It's unfortunate that we've come back so early in the tournament, and it's even more embarrassing because as I go around the sub-region, one thing that people associate Ghana with is football. Believe it or not, people still associate Ghana with football. And so in a continental tournament, they expect Ghana to at least perform very well. But to have small countries unknown with no track record in football to keep humiliating Ghana the way that we have been humiliated in this tournament really damages the brand of Ghana as a football nation. We'll do a lot to be able to recover from this kind of damage. But as they prepared and they left, I had occasions to encourage the Minister for Youth and Sports and to urge him to listen to the footballers. When I was Minister for Youth and Sports, to tell you the truth, I didn't know much about football. Honestly, I didn't know much about football.
You're not a football fan?
Not a fan per se. I mean, I watch football if I was sitting by television and they were playing it. If Ghana was playing a match, I would watch. But if you ask me about the European League, I knew next to nothing about it.
You didn't know about tactical?
You asked me about Spanish League, I didn't know what was happening there. If you ask me the formation of a football team playing, I probably won't be able to tell you where number 3 is standing and where number 9 is standing.
I was thinking I was the only one in Ghana or in the world who was like that. I'm happy.
The interesting thing is that the night before I was announced as Minister for Youth and Sports, I received a call around midnight from the Chief of Staff who said, Ayariga, yes, your brother says tomorrow you are going to Youth and Sports. And this was a call around midnight.
This was Julius Debra?
No, it was before Julius Debra assumed. Prosper Bani. So he called and said, your brother says tomorrow you are going to Youth and Sports. I said, oh, Chief, I don't know anything about football. I've never even gone into Accra Sports Stadium to watch a football match. Then he said, oh, don't worry. He didn't say you should go and play the ball yourself. He said you should go and then offer leadership.
And manage it.
So we laughed about it. And then the following morning, I woke up to the announcement that I was now Minister for Youth and Sports. And if you recall, we had just...
Wait, was that your first senior ministerial position?
No,
or
no,
you were information?
I was at information.
So you moved information to...
I was moved from information to youth and sports. And we had just returned from Brazil and all the
problems.
The debacle. And then at that time, a commission of inquiry had been appointed, and the commission was sitting on the issue of Brazil. And so football, football was very much in the air and the issue. And so for me, the AFCON of that year, 2015, was an opportunity to try and redeem the image of the Black Stars.
The sold image from Brazil.
Exactly. That for me was the challenge. And I will say that they did well. They succeeded in doing that because they went up to the finals. And even the finals, if you recall, it was the penalty that resolved the issue. And even the penalty was finally the shots by the two goalkeepers that resolved the issue. That's how far we went.
So Ghanaians would understand and be like, we have done our best.
And if you look at the lineup of the Ivorian team at that time against the Ghanaian team with Asamoah, who was injured but was just playing to try and redeem the situation, they came back with people really applauding and saying, okay, you didn't take the cup, but you did everything humanly possible to take the cup.
So there was a concession, or there was a consolidation in the minds.
Exactly. And I think that if we had built on that in terms of our performance, I believe by now we would have gone very far. But after that, when I left, the coach that we appointed kept complaining about not receiving the kind of support and encouragement that he received when we were there. The technical team wasn't receiving the kind of support that, because I was there when the coach was appointed, and I knew the background to his appointment, and I was there when the technical team of the coach was constituted, and I had extensive discussions with him, and I understood why the technical team needed to be there, and I was the one who actually instructed that the technical team must be well remunerated, because I worked with them in Equatorial Guinea and I saw the value of a very good technical team. If you recall, Ghana had lost the first match, and the second match was against Algeria. And if they had lost against Algeria, they would have been coming home. And everybody predicted that Algeria would beat Ghana. Because at that time,
people were still angry.
Yeah, they were so angry. But then also the reality was that Algeria had a formidable team. Mm-hmm. But, when we got on the ground, Yantechi was very effective in talking to the team. I was there to provide all the logistics and the encouragement that the team needed. And, they managed to overcome Algeria. And then they just kept winning. They kept winning until the finals.
Does it mean that...
If you recall, we were attacked in the stadium in Malabo, when we were playing against the host nation. And the match commissioner had to even end the match, I think in the first or second half.
Is it money? Do you have to always throw money at the players and the technical team? Is that what needs to be done consistently and constantly?
The first thing that you need to respond to is the best technical direction and the best coaching. Those are two non-negotiable things. Good coaching and excellent technical direction. The reason is that these players play in Europe, and they know a good coach from a bad coach. They know a good technical team from a bad technical team. And they are used to being given excellent technical direction to bring out the best in them. And so if they get on the pitch and then they are not getting the right technical direction, they could be talented, but they're just not getting the right technical direction. They're not getting the right coaching. And so Yantichi and I, our focus at that time was to get them a coach that they believed in and were excited about and trusted. And if you recall, there was this issue about, nationalism and the Ghanaian coach and etc. at that time. And then in the discussions that ensued, we said, okay, let's leave the coach, but let's get him the best technical support. And then the coach said, no, he didn't need technical support. And then the GFA said, look, we're not sure about your competencies as a coach. We think you need backup technical support. And you say you don't want technical support. Okay, then you have to leave the job. And that's how come he left. It was because he raised issues about technical support that they felt he must get.
He didn't want to.
Yeah. So they fixed the issue of coaching, and then they fixed the issue of technical support. I mean, I personally, witnessed every single strategy meeting before they went into a match. And I saw what technical direction does. And sitting there and watching the ball, I knew the direction because I was there when they were giving.
So you can sense what the plan is.
I can sense what the plan is.
And where you're headed.
Where you're headed. And especially what really made me to understand football was our finals with Ivory Coast. Because the coach sat me down and explained the challenges of Black Stars. At that time, the Black Stars didn't have good scorers. Okay? Stars that could score easily, apart from Asamoah. Dede was there, but Dede good, hardworking, but he wasn't really the kind of person who could easily score a goal. And the Ivorians had about 5 who could easily score. So he says, so my task in this match is to prevent their 5 from scoring.
So defense.
So this is going to be the strategy. And he said, but my strength is that I have young boys who can run. So what I'm going to do is to make sure they run for 90 minutes.
Outrunning the opponent.
Outrunning the opponent. And because these stars are older, they can't run as much. So all I'm going to do is just keep my boys running throughout the match. 90 minutes they're going to be running. And so he told me how you would make sure that your opponent just keeps running. And if you watched, they played the 90 minutes in such a way that their 5 stars couldn't score, but Asamoah was too sick to score. Because Asamoah was sick and we had flown him to Mongomo for medical treatment. There were some Cubans there. They treated him and he came back. But the coach insisted on putting him as part of the squad to play because he felt that his presence in the field has an effect on the opponent. Not that he could really play, but it was a morale. So I saw firsthand what technical direction does.
You are the politician. The Minister for Sports currently is a politician. The government of Ghana has no control necessarily over the GFA. If you interfere so much, FIFA would come in and then make some noise. There seems to be a back and forth between what happens to Milovan. Now, media reports and very credible ones have already said the man has been fired. The GFA has not spoken yet. How do you navigate that complex situation of firing a coach whom you pay even though you didn't sign a contract with?
Well, I was a politician there, but in all honesty, I took the approach that I didn't know anything about football. Each time I met the GFA people, I said, look, me, I don't know football. You are the ones who know football. My job is to offer leadership. And mine is to make sure that whatever logistics you need, you get it. Okay? And to also fight to ensure that everybody plays his or her role without one trying to, unnecessarily control the other. Now, ordinarily, when it comes to football, the state really has no right to interfere in what the GFA is doing. But interestingly, with national teams, that's not really the case. With national teams, they are national assets, and they are supposed to be managed together with the sports authority. So their budget and everything is managed by the sports authority, not the GFA. When you go to a tournament, GFA doesn't hold money. It is the sports authority, yes, that goes with the team and manages the finances and accounts for the resources. So it's not so much about, exercising authority. It's about working together, collaborating, thinking together, understanding what everybody needs, and trying to make sure that you provide for that. And I had an excellent stay there because Yantachi was my senior at the law school. I had known him since my days as a student. I had related to him as a senior brother. And even when I was at the ministry, I treated him as a senior brother.
Okay.
And so I had no occasion to fight with Nyantakyi at all. Because I admitted that I didn't know football. I admitted that they were the experts. Mine was just to see what I could do by way of providing them with the needed logistics.
And the support.
And they would always come to me and ask.
This is the third time you're mentioning Nyantakyi in this conversation. It's fair I bring him up. When the Black Stars were sent home, his name trended on the social media platform for a number of days. People said if Nyantakyi was still our GFA president, we wouldn't face the problem that we are facing now. I mean, people have dubious reasons for believing that he was the guy who we needed. Others had genuine reasons. Others thought that he would have been involved in dark magic to help us go through. What's your personal view? That it is the current managers of Ghana football who let us down?
Let me be frank with you. I still don't know much about football. I left it when I was leaving the ministry.
Okay.
And I'm being very frank.
Yeah, you said
I still don't know much about football.
No, it's same here.
I left it when I was leaving the ministry.
Okay.
When they said pack and leave, I packed
you
and actually left the football behind
channel.
me. So if you ask me who are the present managers of football in the country, I really don't know, to be frank with you. I don't even know the current president of the GFA. I haven't met him one-on-one. Okay, I mean, I know him the way that all of us know him in the media, see him on television, hear him talk on radio, but one-on-one, I really don't know him. So I cannot be unfair to him by attributing the situation to him, even though, of course, as leader, he will take the flak for whatever has happened. Nyantakyi, I knew him very well. Like I said, I knew him as far back as when I was a student at the law faculty and beyond. Even before he got involved in football, I knew Nyantakyi. I was surprised when he even contested for GFA president. I was like, but Nyantakyi, you when you and football when? And he was like, oh, my brother, don't worry. And then he was there. He gathered a lot of experience.
Which means
and he built a good relationship with the team and with his political, leaders at that time. So we worked very well. I don't know how the current president works with his colleagues in the GFA, with the coaches and the technical team and the boys. Look, let me tell you something. At the end of the day, when the boys get on the pitch, I mean, the players get on the pitch. We call them boys because they're all our younger brothers.
No, it's fine. You can say boys. That's how the football people speak. You are speaking the football language.
Yes. When the boys get on the pitch, sometimes they are playing not just for their country and for themselves, they are playing for personalities. There were times when, before a match, I'll call Asamoah and Dede, and I'll ask them, Charlie, this match, what do we need to really ginger up the boys to put up their best? And then they would say, one of them, he had a problem with his bill. He played some time and got injured and went back to Europe, and then he paid for his medical bills. And since then, GFA and the ministry have not paid him, reimbursed him for the bill. You need to talk to that guy. Something as simple as that. Then I would say, okay, go and tell him that I will make sure his bill is reimbursed. He should do whatever he can to help you people to win this match. Something's personal to them. Personal to them.
It has to be with their it's true. I
yes.
Get
so you have to build that personal relationship with them. Look, before I even went out to the tournament with them, I invited some of them home, had lunch with some of them privately, asked them what was the problem in Brazil. And they said, Minister, there was no problem in Brazil. It was just respect. I said, respect? Yeah, we're not respected. I said, how are you not respected? So we don't play for money. So we don't play for money. But if you tell us you are giving us money, give it to us. But they're not playing for money. Okay? So the idea that they have come, they are happy to be part of the national team and to participate in the most, prestigious tournament, the World Cup, was enough. But if you told them that if you win this match, we will give you $10,000 each, and then they go and win, and then you don't give them the $10,000, it becomes a problem. What kind of treatment is that?
Would it be fair if I asked you whether you think it's good that Milo has been sacked or not, or right now you don't know?
Actually, I don't even know Milo.
If you were the...
So I've heard his name. I've heard his name as the coach of the Black Stars. I know he used to be our coach some time ago, and they went and brought him back. He's a guy who doesn't speak English.
Yes, he comes with his own translator.
that was an issue that came up because when we were trying to recruit a coach, he was one of those who applied. If you recall, in 2015, he applied. But the issue was language. It's like, okay, if he doesn't speak the language, he has to come with a translator, and then you have to pay the translator.
In this instance, he's paying the translator this time round.
Oh, but it will be factored into his pay. I mean, it's just a ruse.
If I ask you to name the 3 players who were on the
I don't know anything.
I'm
being very frank.
Asamaja is no more there.
I watched him. He was. Oh, Dede is my very good friend. Dede's father is my friend, so I go to their house and all that.
Okay, and then you can mention Thomas Partey.
Yeah, I hear the names, but
and then there's a third one down. Nobody knows his name. He's called number 23.
Oh, why?
This is Face to Face on City TV. My name is Umaru Sanda. My guest is Honorable Mahama Ayariga. He's a former Minister for Sports. I was testing his knowledge on the Black Stars. He's as poor as me, and it's fine. When we come back, we'll talk about something he and I understand quite well, the rancor in Parliament, and we have a conversation on Bawku. Don't go away.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. City TV, it's your world.
You're welcome back to Face on City TV. My name is Umaru Sandamado. My guest is the Member of Parliament for Bawku Central, Honorable Mahama Ayariga. What is the problem with your town?
Well, I mean, it's difficult to place your finger on any particular issue except to say that it's a senseless, useless enterprise that has led us to where we are. I mean, people will claim that it is a chieftaincy matter, but really, it cannot be a chieftaincy matter. And not just me, but even President Nana Akufo-Addo, who in the past provided legal representation to my uncles, the Mampushis in Bawku, his law firm. Even he today takes a position that it's not a chieftaincy matter. It's a pure issue of law and order.
Are you referring to that case in the early 2000s?
Yes.
The one that had Martin Amido on the other side?
Yes.
Okay, as lawyer?
Yes. So it's not a chieftaincy matter. The reason why it is said that it is not a chieftaincy matter and people need to listen is that it's not a matter that you can litigate before any institution. You can't go to House of Chiefs, you can't go to the Supreme Court, you can't go anywhere.
Why?
Yes. Because that case that you just mentioned, there was an attempt to go to the Supreme Court, and then they actually went to the Supreme Court, and then they tried to withdraw, and the Supreme Court said, okay, we will allow you to withdraw, but never come back here again.
Who are the they?
I mean, my uncles, the Mampushis, yes.
Okay.
So basically, it's not a matter...
So what were they challenging? What is the contest?
I don't claim to know the history better than anybody.
Okay.
But there is a contention historically that once upon a time, Mampushis were chiefs in Bawku and controlled the entire Kusasi area, superintended over by Mampurugu, led by the Nairi.
Okay. In Nalerugu.
In Nalerugu. But then, in the 50s, there was an issue of succession, and the Kusasis laid a claim to rule over themselves, and the Mampushis, laid a claim to continue to rule over the Kusasis. And the then governor set up a commission of inquiry to go into the matter, And the colonial government at that time, also with Nkrumah as prime minister, came up with a report that said, look, in this day and age, you can't go to somebody's land and go and rule over that person. The Kusasis are chiefs here, and so they should go ahead and rule themselves. That essentially was the conclusion.
So that was a colonial decision.
Yes.
Moving towards independence.
Moving towards independence. But then when Nkrumah was overthrown and the military took over, they tried to reverse a lot of the arrangements across the country, not just in Bawku, but across the country. The arrangements that were made by Nkrumah for
in relation to
chieftaincy, yes, across the country. And so the reversal affected Bawku. And so once again, Mampushis found themselves, in the driving gear. And then when Rawlings took over under the PNDC, the issue came up again, and he passed a law that said, what the military did was wrong, and we should go back to the colonial arrangement where Kusasis rule over themselves. And so that became PNDC Law 75, which restored, the arrangement where Kusasis ruled over themselves. And that is the historical, antecedents. Now,
continue to 2000, the court case. And
so what happened then after was when there was a return to constitutional rule under the 1992 Constitution, and Rawlings left office. The Mampushis assumed that, okay, it was Rawlings who did this to us, so now that he's no longer there, let's go to the court and see if we can reverse the thing that Rawlings did. And so they went to the Supreme Court. They didn't go into the substance of the matter. Somehow they realized that legally it was difficult for them to advance their case, I believe, or whatever might have motivated them. They decided to withdraw. And when they applied to the court to withdraw, the court said, well, we'll give you the opportunity to withdraw, but without liberty to return. You can never return here on this matter again. And they withdrew. And so...
And Akufo-Addo was their lawyer at the time?
It wasn't him.
His chambers.
It was his chambers, so it wasn't him. So, but, he's had a long-standing relationship with them, so he knows this case, inside out. So that was what happened at that time.
So that's how far it has traveled.
That's how far it has traveled.
What triggered the latest issue?
Well, the latest issue really, and this is not the first time, and I hate to be political about this, but this is also a historical fact, that politically, the Mampushis in Bawku have tended to be aligned with the NPP. Because of their issues with Rawlings. And then when political parties were being formed, they saw Rawlings as their problem. And so naturally they went against whoever, was with Rawlings. I've always suffered from that. But the Kusasis generally, have also aligned with Rawlings and the NDC. Basically also largely because of the same issue. So anytime that the NPP is in office, the belief is that, look, this is our issue and this is why we're supporting you. You need to address it. Okay? But it's not possible to address it. It's not possible to address it. No government can interfere at this stage, because at the point when the Constitution came into force, the Constitution basically froze the issues of chieftaincy in such a way that you can't come from before 1992 and try to rewrite the story of chieftaincy in any jurisdiction. So basically, that has been the case. Anytime that the NPP wins elections, then I will have people instigating the issue and wanting it addressed the way they want. And I have a problem with the government because the various NPP governments have not asserted themselves strongly, in a way that sends a signal that you can't bring this issue up because we won't even touch it. Are you getting the situation? And so people get encouraged and then they build a momentum around it. By the time government comes into act, it's already a bad case. Like this recent one. What instigated it? Social media. People started mobilizing on social media that the issue must be addressed. They want a change. I mean, I'm talking about most people who are aligned to the Mamprusi cause. And we all saw these things on social media. We drew the attention of people in authority. Look, these things that are being discussed on social media, if you don't curb it now, it will take us to where we all don't want to find ourselves. And they kept treating it as nothing that will happen. Government issued a statement. The vice president came to Bawku, attended a Samampit festival, and severally...
Samampit is celebrated by Kusasis?
Kusasis. Severally referred to Bawku Naba as the overlord, and thought that those signals
would give a
sign to my uncles that it's not something that this government will touch. But it just went on, and then it took on a dimension of, okay, we will have to celebrate the funeral of the last person who on record was a Mamprusi chief before the PNDC law came and then, restored it and therefore deposed him, and he was exiled. And traditionally, the understanding is that if you celebrate the funeral of a chief, then you are in the process of wanting to
appoint
a new chief. And so Kusasi said, you can't celebrate this funeral. In any case, a person died 40 years ago and a funeral was performed. He was a Muslim, and a Muslim funeral was performed. But my uncle said, no, he's entitled to a traditional funeral and we will do it. And government moved in. Government sent emissaries to the Nairi because the Nairi is the one who is actually supposed to authorize the performance of the funeral.
The Nairi is not in Upper East region.
No, he's in the Northeast region, yeah.
In the capital.
In the capital. So my understanding is that I wasn't there, so I have to be careful what I say. My understanding is that he kind of gave his word. True or false, I don't know, but that's the understanding I got.
For the funeral to happen?
No, not
that it will not happen.
That it will not happen.
Okay.
That was the impression that we got from government functionaries who went on that delegation. And then they didn't stop at that. They actually went to the court in Bolga to get an injunction to restrain anybody from trying to perform the funeral, and then try to serve it on the interested parties so that they are aware that there's a court injunction under the Public Order Act. Somehow, some instigators coming from Northeast region got into Bawku and tried to instigate people and encourage the performance of the funeral, and after that put it all out on social media, and that provoked reaction from the Kusasi side that there was a court order, there was an injunction, government sent emissaries and tried to mediate to stop this from happening, and yet it went ahead and happened. And so it just heightened the tension. And on social media people were trading insults. As I'm seated here, I've been insulted beyond measure, just that having been a former information minister, I've learned how to absorb insults. So no amount of insults really gets to me.
So the ethnic makeup of Bawku is Kusasi and Mamprusi?
Not just Kusasi.
I mean the major ones?
There are equally major ethnic groups. I mean, you have the Bases, they are a significant group. You have the Moshis, they are a significant group. The houses may not be major, the Fulani may not be major.
What is Kanjaga?
Kanjaga is not anywhere close to Bawku. Kanjaga is towards Navrongo, Sandema area.
All right.
So that's the ethnic makeup there.
Which one are you?
I am Kusasi, my father is Kusasi, but my mother is Mamprusi.
So you're in the middle?
So I am supposed to be in the middle.
How are you surviving?
It's difficult. I mean, you have your direct uncles call you and talk to you and try to put pressure on you. Then you have your father's people also calling you and then trying to put pressure on you. There are issues that I feel must be placed on record. The fact that in today's world, it is no longer tenable for Mampushes to exercise authority in the Kusasi area. That is a historical fact. That's a reality of all countries and all societies now. So it's not tenable.
So Bawku belongs to Bawku, and Bawku is
Bawku
Kusasi.
is Kusasi land. Bawku, is a town in Kusasi land, but the area stretches from Tili River. If you've traveled to Bawku before, there's a river before you get into Zebila district. That's the border.
Okay.
And then it ends in Timpani. Okay. That's the border between us and Togo.
So Garu is under
Garu
is also Kusasi land.
Yeah, Kusasi land. So
Binduri?
all that Binduri is Kusasi land.
Okay.
Bawku is Kusasi land.
Okay.
Pusga is Kusasi land. So these are all
So that
areas.
northeastern
That
enclave
whole corner is Kusasi. And just bordering us is Mampushi land.
which is to the south.
Which is northeast.
So
to the south, yes.
Yeah, Nakpanduri
all
downwards.
that area up to Walwale, going down to Janga, and then further down and bordering northern region.
So your side geographically borders Togo and Burkina Faso.
Yes, Togo and Burkina Faso.
Okay.
So that historical reality, that there's nothing you can do today.
But your mother's side is not agreeing to that.
That is the problem. That is the problem. Now, we have to be frank with each other and to at least talk to each other to appreciate the fact that it is not tenable, it will not be accepted, the Kusasis will not accept it. It will be difficult for anyone to be imposed on Kusasis by the Nairi as a chief, and the Kusasis will accept. It's not something that will be entertained
Is
or
the current
will
government
practically work.
Is the current government of the state in tandem in thoughts on what you're saying now?
I must say that President Akufo-Addo, as we speak, shares that position.
Okay.
And in any case,
are his agents implementing that position?
He's made it clear that as president, he has no capacity to even interfere in chieftaincy matters, and that is a matter that was resolved by the Supreme Court. And he's gotten his Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs to issue a carefully worded statement to that effect. And I believe he's instructed his security ministers to enforce that.
Okay.
So clearly, even the NPP government will not dream of trying to change anything.
But people are dying.
So that's why I say that it's now a question of law and order, that the state is heavy-handed in its dealings with the security issue in Bawku. You should not go on radio and say things that will instigate people to carry out violence and be able to walk home freely.
Who is doing
because
that?
People are doing that. Go to Bawku and ask. There's a radio station there, I don't want to mention names, that will wake up, and then give platforms to people. And then people are doing that on social media, on Facebook, and people know them and they know who are the managers of those platforms. People put out voice recordings on WhatsApp platforms, and it goes viral on social media. And I have persistently told the national security team that, look, go after these people, make an example of them, and people will know that the state has the capacity to reach you wherever you are if you engage in instigating violence in
The
Bawku.
Municipal Security Council and the Regional Security Council, both headed by appointees of the president, have been strong in dealing with this matter. They've banned motor riding, they've banned smoke wearing. They are consistently trying to make sure there's a solution there. Is that not a sign of a good attitude towards finding peace in Bawku on the side of the government?
It's easy to announce that you have banned smoke riding. Smoke wearing. It's easy to ban that you have announced that you have banned riding motorbikes. The work is, as I've indicated to you, go on social media, fish out all those using those platforms to instigate, to create a sense of insecurity, to excite other people to want to get involved and fight. Go and fish out those people and deal with them in a way that will serve as a deterrent.
Would that not further aggravate the issue if you start arresting members of one group, which is what
All
seems
groups.
like
I haven't said one group. I've said all groups. Anybody that is using social media platforms, that is using radio platforms, that is involved in, financing, instigating, procuring weapons, coordinating fights, and etc. Anybody that is involved in any of these activities, the state should tell me that they have the capacity and sophistication to be able to reach these people and make an example of them.
Even if it's the MP?
Yeah, if people will tell you that nobody can ever pin me down to being involved in any way in instigating, in arming, in financing any of these activities. And that's been my policy for many years. I get bashed on both sides. I get bashed by Kosasis because, they don't get the kind of cooperation they think they will get from me. And at the same time, I get bashed by Mampushis because sometimes I speak out against them and say, what you are doing is not workable, it won't work. So you better stop it because you're wasting the lives of people that I know on both sides.
Do we know how many people have died so far? That figure is difficult to come by. Is it that they cannot account for the number of dead?
They hide. Both sides hide the number of their dead because to reveal that you lost so many people, is seen as weakness and defeat. So each side will hide the number of its dead. And the soldiers cannot account because sometimes by the time they get to the location, the body would have been retrieved. But I can assure you that from sources that I believe are reliable and people that I personally know have passed away, we have so many people who have died. And not just this.
Do you have a number you're working with?
I won't give you numbers. But
is it more than a dozen?
I won't give you numbers. And it's not just this instance, it's also all the previous incidents that have direct personal relations who have died of bullet wounds and etc. So I know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And
let me take this quick break and come back. This is Face to Face on City TV. My name is Umaru Sanda. My guest is a member of Parliament for Bawku Central. When I come back, he's a member of the ECOWAS Parliament. Burkina Faso is in trouble or is down. We are told there are a lot of weapons in Bawku. People are dying. Burkina Faso borders us on the north around a community under the Bawku. That should be Paga. It's not Paga. What's the name? And Kulungungu. Yes, Kulungungu, and then you enter Burkina Faso.
Kuzga district.
Yes, so we would see how that has to be dealt with as a government and what his advice would be. Don't go away.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. City TV, it's your world.
You're welcome back to Face to Face. Let's continue the conversation in Bawku. So, I'm hearing there's so many weapons there. Where are those weapons coming from?
Coming from all sorts of sources. I mean,
from
across the border, from within Ghana, from those days when Ivory Coast was involved in civil war. A lot of weapons came in through Ivory Coast. A lot of weapons came in through the north, Burkina Faso, coming down from Mali, Niger. We are told that because of the situation in Libya, a lot of weapons got into those countries and then it trickled down into Ghana. So, and a lot of it just from our regular security agencies. Some of them, they go out and then come back and say their weapons are missing. You should know where those weapons end up.
And all of those could end up. It's curious. On the whole of Sunday, we are told there were gunshots all around. Everybody was just shooting, like knockouts.
Everybody has a gun. I mean, everybody, both sides are well armed, and that's very dangerous.
Is it safe to go to Bawku? It's a business hub.
Well, for now, we have relapsed into a very bad situation. But in the last 10 years, Bawku was recovering from the blow from previous conflict situations. We're just recovering when this new development occurred. And yes, of course, I mean, in all honesty, you can't say it's safe. Even me, I mean, when I'm in Bawku town, I have to be careful where I find myself and where I don't find myself. And for somebody who is not from Bawku, you know, it's not advisable to take unnecessary risk. But I believe that if government, you know, is firm on the ground, and we need more soldiers. For instance, now the military contingent there is not big enough. That's the major problem. Okay. So what happens is this: the boys have developed a mechanism for monitoring them. So
monitoring the military?
Yeah, monitoring the deployments of the military, because firing normally takes place around the entire city, around it, not in the center, but outward and then inward.
Okay.
So that's the formation. Now, if you have a small military contingent, when they hear firing on this side,
they move there.
They move there, and they move there in their numbers because they also have to protect themselves, and they need their numbers to be able to contain any attack. And so once they move to a location with mobile phone, etc., people are able to tell people on the other side, okay, they are on our side, then
take action over there.
So you need a large contingent that can deploy at the same time and be able to contain all sides and make it difficult for them to even engage one another.
So does it mean that as soon as the military look elsewhere, someone is going to kill someone?
It's not necessarily killing. You see, sometimes they can be shooting the whole day. In the evening when you ask who died, nobody died.
Why? Is it for celebration?
Not celebration. There's an encounter at a point, but really they are not soldiers. Remember, they are not soldiers, so they may not actually be aiming well. Okay, they just...
So they can be hearing gunshots.
Yeah, they are aiming in each other's direction and firing to scare you from moving into my area, and I also scare you from moving into...
do you have segments? Do you have a Kusasi segment and a Mampuri segment in Bawku?
Yes, there are
so that
sections.
In Accra, for instance, I would say that Adabraka side is Kusasi, and then Adenta, so Madina becomes the barrier.
Yes, you have that. You have that, and I have shown the security agencies where to deploy to be able to contain all sides, so that you make it difficult for operations. But the complaints I get from the security committee and local people who are handling these issues, that the numbers, they don't have enough men to be able to deploy effectively. So immediately what is needed, what the president needs to do, is direct greater deployment into Bawku. It's expensive, but you have to do that for now, given the situation that we find ourselves. The second thing that must happen is for us to develop a strategy for disarming, all sides, so that you reduce the capabilities of both sides. Because when they have the weapons, sometimes the weapons themselves just tempt people.
These weapons we have in Bawku, is it possible to remove all of them? Is that possible?
Well, I mean, experts in small arms will tell you that there are different ways of disarming communities. And for me, one sure bet is to let people understand that the cause over which they are fighting is unattainable. So there's even no point fighting it. If you come to that understanding that the reason for your fight is not attainable, no matter how hard you fight, then perhaps you will realize that there's no point in fighting. And
who has to make that point?
All of us in government.
What is the
government
responsibility?
After government.
What's the responsibility of the Nairi in this?
Well,
should he call a press conference?
Between you and I, I think that Nairi can end all this by publicly making it known that he really doesn't have the power and authority to impose a chief on the people of Bawku.
Does he believe that? That's the issue.
Well, I mean, for close to 4 decades, he has not attempted to exercise such a power. So why there is any move now to pretend that you can do that successfully, I don't understand. Because for close to 4 decades, he hasn't done that.
You are a community under curfew. School children have to go to school. Economic activities have to go on. All of these have ceased. We are told your constituency, and for that matter, your municipality, is like a cemetery. How are people?
It is. It's unfortunate. A lot of people are getting out of the place. Schools can't function because children are not safe, because their teachers are not safe, and because the parents are not safe sending the children to their schools. Because you can have your child in a school that is in the Kusasi section and you are Mamprushi, or in the Mamprushi section and you are Kusasi. So even if they won't do anything to your child, you dropping the child off will be in danger. So schools can't really function. Or you are a teacher at Kusasi and you teach in a school in the Mamprushi area, or you are Mamprushi and you teach in the Kusasi area. So these are all things that make it impossible for schools to function. The market also is relocated, because the market is in the center of the town. Kusasis don't feel safe going to the market, and so they prefer to establish a place, in the outskirts of the town to run, their market activities. The Mampushis don't feel safe going there, probably will not even be allowed to go there. So the economic situation is even worse. People with shops in town don't feel safe coming out to open their shops, so you call town, you want to find out. I'm doing a school project. I called this morning. They said they couldn't work because the schools, the shops are closed, so they can't even get cement to work on the school. We're hoping to try and finish because schools are open and children need these classroom blocks. So these are, everything has come to a halt.
Is your place not a potential safe haven for people descending from Burkina Faso, which is now in trouble?
Yes, it is. I mean, even before this, I remember several engagements with the military detachment there about how to monitor the movement of jihadist elements and terrorist agents from Burkina into Ghana. I mean, on several occasions, I've had to work closely with the military there because they've suspected one gentleman or the other of working with terrorists across the border and want to arrest him. But as MP and as a lawyer, sometimes I intervene to try and resolve these issues. So to have this chaotic situation where actually there appears to be a demand for fighting men in Bawku could actually be very dangerous.
Okay.
Because these guys could think that, okay, there's a job here, so let's go and do it. And then in the process, they will infiltrate our country with
we need to go now.
Like that.
Do you speak Mamproli?
I don't speak good Mamproli. I understand every Mamproli that you speak.
And you also speak Kusal?
Yeah, Kusal.
But yes, I wanted to give you 30 seconds each for Kusal and Mamproli to tell the people to stop fighting.
My brother, I think that the real issue now is for me to appeal to the president to deploy enough men to be able to prevent them from being able to engage each other the way that they are engaging. But I want you to
also talk to them and tell them to stop engaging.
I think that we've said this so many times and nobody will listen to us. The president has said it, the minister has said it, the regional minister has said it, the municipal chief executive has said it, and trust me, they are not listening to anybody. So the only thing that can be done now is soldiers on the ground, more boots on the ground to physically separate and prevent them, and to aggressively try to disarm by searching for weapons, to go on social media and try to locate all those who have been instigating people on social media and encouraging people to take up arms on social media, to pick them up, to put them before the courts under our anti-terrorism laws, and to punish them so that everybody will see that you can be punished if you engage in these actions. Appeals no longer seem to fly with my people.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, and wish and pray that your people find sanity and there will be peace back in Bawku. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
That's a member of Parliament for Bawku Central, the Honorable Mahama Ayariga, and I was speaking to us on a number of issues, but we had to conclude it, Bawku. Unfortunately, we couldn't make time for Parliament, which resumes today. This is Face to Face. Stay with City TV. It's your world.